Hello, I'm Eric Buckland. I'm a historian with a focus on the men who rode with Mosby's Rangers. I've been researching their lives for 10 or 12 years now, and what's important to me is, especially from this area known as Mosby's Confederacy, Loudoun, Fauquier, Warren, and Clark County, which really makes up a heritage area as well, is the Rangers were part of the fabric of, or one of the threads in the tapestry that makes up this area. They lived here before the war, they fought here during the war, and many of them remained here and contributed to the United States after the war. This is the marker of William Billy Brent. Now, Billy Brent never officially mustered in with the Rangers, but he rode with them on several raids. That was not unusual in the 2 years that Mosby's Rangers existed. 800 men by the end of the war had mustered in, but almost 2,000 men had ridden with the unit one time or another. Brent was one of those men who would come and go. But the reason, I believe, that he rode with the Rangers was two or threefold. One, he was very good friends with Harry Hatcher. Harry had been in the 7th, as was Billy, and I think Billy would simply go over and ride sometimes with his old comrade, Harry Hatcher. The second reason was that Brent tended to get wounded, and he would go home to heal up, and many times Confederate troopers, after they'd been wounded, would have lost their horse, would have lost some of their equipment, and they would throw in with Mosby's Rangers in order to capture a horse, get new revolvers, whatever, or whatever other equipment they might need. And that's may very well be one of the reasons why Brent would come over and ride with the Rangers as well. A third reason that Brent may have been with the Rangers on different occasions is the fact that he had a little brother named James who rode with Mosby's Rangers. And it was not unusual during the 2 years that Mosby's Rangers were in existence for big brothers, in some cases little brothers, and even fathers to come over to the command to check on their family members. The big brother just to see how the little brother was doing, dad to check on his son, in some cases younger brothers who wanted to emulate their big brothers who at that time were probably their heroes. Those are the three reasons I would give for Brent riding with the Rangers, and would probably fit for a good number of other Rangers. Anyone who rode with the Rangers, of those 2,000 men, we do consider, those of us who study Mosby's Rangers, consider them all Rangers. Now, one of the stories that is told, I talked about the friendship between Harry Hatcher and Billy Brent. One of the stories that is told about the two of them is that they were out on a ride, on a patrol, and became engaged with a small group of Union infantrymen. Now, Harry Hatcher went ahead to attack this small group, probably demanding their surrender. Brent started to move up, but his horse stumbled, went down, and pinned him to the ground. And as he was watching Hatcher engage these Union infantrymen who elected not to surrender, Brent very clearly saw one of the Union infantrymen stab with his musket and his bayonet, and he saw the bayonet penetrate Hatcher. It looked like it had gone directly through his belly. Brent saw that, thought for sure that Hatcher was dead or seriously wounded, became enraged, and did all he could to get out from under this horse that was lying on top of him. He finally extricated himself from being pinned to the ground, drew his saber. Again, he was cavalry, so he was carrying a saber. The Rangers did not. They always carried revolvers. But Brent would draw his saber and charge after those Union infantrymen. Well, Hatcher was still fighting, even though he had received a bayonet that had gone clear through him. And now these Union infantrymen saw another crazed warrior getting up from under a horse with his saber, and they decided probably discretion was the better part of valor, and they of course fled. Now, I mentioned James Brent, Billy's little brother. After the war, James Brent would go out west, and he would live in both Arizona and New Mexico, where he would become a noted lawman. And most people know the story of Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid. Pat Garrett, of course, killed Billy the Kid. But one of the men that James Brent partnered up with several times was in fact Pat Garrett, the noted lawman. Interesting story how the things tie in a little bit between them, but this is the grave of Mosby Ranger Billy Brent.